All right, let's call to order the RTC meeting for Friday, April 19th with a roll call.
Sajid Solaria.
Here.
Devin Reese.
Here.
Alexis Hill.
Here.
Ed Lawson.
Here.
Bill Thomas.
Here.
Mary Luz Garcia.
Here.
Adam Spear.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Okay, let's do the pledge. Will you lead us, Ms. Hill?
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We're on to public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
Okay. Looking for approval of the agenda. Mr.
Mayor, I'll move to approve the agenda, but I would ask that we move up the presentation on the budget. I apologize to those assembled, but I will have to be out of here fairly quickly to attend a funeral today. And so if we could get that moved up, I'd be happy to move for the approval of the rest of it.
Okay, looking for a second.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Consent items. Approval of the minutes for 2/16/24 and minutes for 3/22/20. Well, I'm going to do separate motions. Let's just start with 2/16/24.
So moved.
A motion?
Second, but Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
are we
Mayor.
taking all of the consent items as one item?
Sorry.
Yeah.
My consent items in Sparks is number 8. So 4 always jumps up on me. Yes, we're going to take all the consent items. Sorry about that.
Okay, and I have nothing to pull unless any of my colleagues have something to pull. I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll move to approve the consent items as identified.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That brings us to discussions and presentations. 5.4, acknowledge the receipt of the fiscal year 2025 RTC tentative budget. Who's presenting that? Kristen?
Did you want to start with 5.3? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. If it pleases the commission, I'd like to start with the indexing item, which is the one right before the budget as it ties into the next item, if that's okay. Thank you.
Do presentation on 5, 3, and 4.
Correct. I'll do
Okay.
them both back to back,
Perfect.
if that's okay. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Exciting time of year. We get to do the fuel tax indexing and budget, which I know you're all on the edge of your seat for. I'll go ahead and roll through this. For reference, just to kind of remind everyone how the indexing works, we are statutorily defined as to how we calculate our indexing on our fuel tax here in Washoe County. We use the same formulary that RTC South uses. I go ahead and run the numbers based on PPI inflation. It looks at a 10-year average, and then we apply those to our current rates that we have now on our local fuel taxes. I've confirmed my numbers with RTC South, and we came up with the same indexing rolling average of 3.98% based on the last 10 years. Something I just want to highlight here is the reason we do the 10-year rolling average is it kind of smooths out any bumpiness to inflation that we tend to see. If you look the last 2 years, we had inflationary numbers near 20%. So if we would have followed an annual average, your increases would have been incredible over the last couple of years. So the way this has been established works quite well with keeping up with inflation and smoothing it over time. Again, our increase for this year is 3.98%, which translates to 3.34 cents here in Washoe County for RTC.
Say that number again, just so everyone can understand. 3.34 cents.
Correct. So 3.34 cents per gallon will now be added to the RTC 5 fuel tax.
Last year, they didn't hear it correctly, and my wife thought we were giving a $3.43 raise.
I promise to never do that to you. Our indexing rate is capped at 7.8% annually, so that will not be happening.
Thank you.
And then I just did supply a graph to kind of show the history of our indexing. We are certainly not at the highest point we've been. We're not in the lowest. We're kind of right in the middle of the road now. So with that, I'll answer any questions. This is really just a public outing of what the rate's going to be, but I'm happy to answer anything you might have.
Questions from the commission? Okay. Awesome explanation.
Easy, thank you. Alrighty, and going right into the budget, I have to thank everyone in RTC for assisting with this. It is not just a finance effort. It takes the work of all of you, board members, our directors, and everyone in this office to get to this point. The little odd timing, sorry, I'll get to that next. Our budget is a culmination of all the decisions you've made since you've been sitting in the seat and those in front of you as well. So we start with our 20-year RTP process. We come down to the 5-year RTIP look. Through that, we get street and highway ICAs for the next 2 years. And then annually, we bring your budget for approval here. That includes a ton of decisions that you've made up to here on planning studies that we would engage in, solicitations we've done, and other professional services agreements. To kind of recap, there's a little weird timing here. We are presenting the tentative budget to you after it's already been submitted to the Department of Taxation. Don't worry, that does not mean you do not get a bite of the apple here. I welcome your comments, and we can incorporate them into the final budget, which you'll see next month. Just to kind of show you how we got here, we had our directors retreat back in February, where we all talked about things as an organization that we need to enhance or increase in the next year. We met with you at the board retreat. You emphasized the goals and objectives that you would like us to obtain over the next year. I and my team have incorporated that into our tentative budget, which we submitted to the Department of Taxation last Friday due to statutory deadlines. Today, I'm providing an input, and I'd like you to give direction and any input you have on the budget, again, so that I can come back to you next month, May 23rd, and approve our final budget with your comments. Upon that, we'll submit it to the Department of Taxation, and then we begin operating on July 1st. Some budgetary highlights. You have a complete package which describes every line item of the budget. I really just want to touch some high-level details today. The main thing to focus on here is that our fuel tax and our sales tax are our primary funding sources for RTC. We do get federal funding for about 30% of our projects, but we do match those with local sources as well. We receive some RIF fees through our development in our community. We do receive passenger fares for people riding the bus. NDOT transfers us some money for our UPWP, our United Planning Work Program. And then we're starting to see some investment income return. Previous years have been around zero just due to low interest rates. And then we have some miscellaneous income that's 1% of what we receive. On our expenditure side, unlike your local organizations, we are capital heavy. People, places, and things are not a big portion of our budget. We've made some large increases to our capital expenditures this year, about $30 million over the previous, just due to some project timing. We've got some large projects coming up, and I'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute. Our preservation and multimodal includes all of our day-to-day maintenance of our roads, as well as any of our active transportation projects that we have. Capacity improvements are things like your Audi wells that are going on right now. Outside of that, our other large portions of our budget are mainly related to our ride operating contract with Keolis and also our paratransit operator, MTM. And then I just want to remind everyone that we do debt service to the tune of about $24 million every year. So we have to keep that in the bank as well. So through the climate study, there were several recommendations that came out for RTC, and we've tried to incorporate a few of those into this year's budget. Director Thomas and the other directors and I have started executive coaching as of this week. We've continued that contract into the next year to address some of the communication items that were brought up in the culture study. We also heard loud and clear that there was a need for additional staff. We're doing more work with less people, so we've added 5 new positions. One of which is the senior planner, the neighborhood planner for the active transportation plan, which came directly from the board retreat. We've added an HR specialist to help with some of our onboarding and recruitment efforts, an IT technician to do some of the day-to-day IT work and to kind of do a little succession planning in that department as well. I've added an accounting specialist to take over the intern position, and then we've added a traffic engineer for a new traffic management center. Additionally, there were comments about compensation and classification. We've engaged in a study to view every desk in the office to see how they're paid and how they compare to their peers and what their job descriptions are. That'll be in our next upcoming year. And then also the pay for performance was indicated as being clunky and hard to understand. So we've included something to match Laura's item, which was just on the consent agenda for the pay for performance adjustment. Like I mentioned earlier, there's some large projects that are ongoing this year that are causing the increase to the capital side. Arlington Avenue Bridges is ongoing. We're going to start construction on that this year. The West 4th Street Safety Project in partnership with NDOT. We've got Sparks Boulevard design and construction for that widening. We're continuing to develop and enhance our hydrogen fueling station construction. We're looking at enhancing our Meadowood transfer station for ease of passenger transfer there. We're also doing a study to design and possibly relocate our facilities on Sutro Street in conjunction with looking at our area under Villanova. You're all aware that we're going through the RTP update right now. Don't forget to take your survey. And then we've also included a study on possible solutions to getting out to the TRIC Center from Reno. So that'll be a partnership with several agencies to look at the feasibility of that. And then again, from the board retreat, our neighborhood plans and the active transportation plan has been included in this as well. Overall, we're in good shape at RTC. We have a balanced budget, as always. That's the goal. The Department of Taxation does predict a modest sales tax increase around 1% next year, which will be beneficial to our transit operations. They are also predicting that the gallons of fuel sold will be flat. So we're coming to a point where we've kind of seen over the last few years where gallons of fuel sales are not going up year over year, and that's due to hybrids with higher MPGs, we've got EVs, people are choosing not to drive, whatever the case may be. We are lucky to have an indexing to keep up with inflation, but it does not factor in those reductions in gallons. So just something on the horizon we are thinking about. Overall, Reno is very stable. We are still increasing our population. We have low unemployment. Signs are good here economically. Now, we did add some staff, but we are still lean. Operations of RTC take up less than 10% of our budget with 75 full-time employees. And last year, we created over 2,600 jobs on our capital projects and invested over $186 million into our community. There's a complete project list as requested last year at the back of your package. Feel free to take a look at that. And with that, I will answer any questions.
Questions from the commission? Ms.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great presentation. I'm glad that we're adding staff and looking at how we can support the climate study and recommendations from that. So thank you for being responsive to that with the budget. I was curious, and this is so small for like a $500 million budget, but for our microtransit in Tahoe, I don't see how much we're budgeting for that for next fiscal year. Do you know specifically?
Yeah, I do. So we're back to following the formulary that's been established between the districts. So our contribution for the fixed route service up there is around 275,000 for next year.
Right, that's the fixed route. And then what's the micro transit?
So as you're aware, we're still in discussions with the parties there. So there's no specific line item for that at this
Okay.
point. There's always opportunity to adjust our budget if as needed, though.
Can I ask for an adjustment during this discussion?
You can
or-
certainly recommend it. We can
Okay.
take that recommendation back and evaluate it, yes.
Okay, well, I know we are looking at better ways to operate that microtransit since we're not located in Tahoe, but that service is, and it's also within our service area at RTC, and I'm sure there's more efficient ways to do it. So is there a way to build in for next year $250,000 to support that budget, and then a study to see how we can better manage that microtransit? And perhaps the study is asked at a different time, but I just wanted to make sure that that got discussed today.
I'm not seeing anyone adamantly shaking their head no on that, so I will take that back
Okay.
and incorporate it back into our final budget.
Thank you.
So if I can, just to provide more information, the rest of the board members, obviously been working very close with Commissioner Hill on this issue of microtransit, which was a pilot project for several years, and the pilot part is over, and it was very successful. The question now, as I've looked into it on our behalf, is the future is very complicated. So I'm comfortable as your executive director that we could, for a one-year period, put in the 250,000, but I do think it should be tied to completion of the study. In other words, it should not be presumed by the other partners that this is going to be an ongoing commitment from RTC. This gets us through next year so that the service doesn't go away, but it also then gives us an opportunity to do a coordinated study with all the partners to come back to you as a board and say, here's what we found, and to present to you the options. You know, what should be the role of RTC in transit up at Lake Tahoe going forward, but to do it in a more cumulative way so all of you understand the trade-offs and the consequence to us. So I think that, based on what your suggestion is, I can support that as executive director as a path forward.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Mr. Chair, I would just clarify in terms of, this budget item, this is for input on the budget. This is the type of input that I think Christian's looking for. But in terms of the actual actions that are necessary to get them in there and the deliberation and action by this board, we'll have to look at the order of that and then bring it back for appropriate action by the board. And I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I think what I want to say about this particular item that's been raised by Commissioner Hill is I think it is very important that we think about all of Washoe County, which includes an important part of that community at Lake Tahoe. So the work that we do is meaningful there, and Commissioner Hill has been fighting for that community, I think, exceptionally well, I might add. It is also incumbent upon us that it meets the requirements of this board, which I think it does. So I understand that the budget-related item is a question of what direction you're seeking in the tentative. And for my part, I am supportive of the effort. I think it's a bit underfunded, to be honest with you. I see that what you're talking about is keeping it going for a period of time and then asking whether the study would reveal a greater need. My guess is it will. So I want to just make sure that as we go forward, it is fully supported by this body. And I am supportive and believe it's an integral part of what we do here. And so I've been happy with the results, too, of the work that was done. So we'll call it the pilot, however you want to characterize it, I think has been very successful and is sort of the proof is in the pudding.
As far as a procedural matter, if I may, I believe the answer here is that I will work with the PT director, Mr. Gee, and identify what the amount is appropriate in his budget, and hopefully it matches your mindset.
Mr. Chair, along the lines as my colleagues, I too commend Commissioner Hill for advocating for her district and shining the light on neighborhoods that aren't always represented on this board. And I think that's what's beautiful about having so many different perspectives. We look through things through a lot of different lenses, and I was really excited, at our board retreat. Well done, by the way, to our staff. Thank you. If I didn't get a chance to thank you for such a well-organized board retreat, but really excited to see the neighborhood plan and the addition of the neighborhood planner. Along the lines of sustainability, is that a one-year only position? Have we talked about, is this a multi-year position, or any of those 5 additional positions, do they have kind of timestamps on them?
Direct answer to your question is no, they do not. They are full-time permanent positions within the organization.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Hill?
And I see on the multimodal, we do have Sun Valley corridor improvements phase 2. And then what's the next step for Sun Valley as part of our investments at RTC?
So what we have received congressionally designated expenditures for the construction, some construction in Sun Valley. So we're going to actively look for funding opportunities for that. It has a lot of interesting parts with drainage, with active transportation, with disadvantaged communities. It's ripe for federal funding. We just have to identify and successfully find it. But we're still moving forward with that project with our local funding and the funds we have available today, with that on the horizon of how do we get it to the next step.
And if I can, just to add on to that, it is fully our intent with the next cycle of the RAISE grant, which is one of the more substantial federal programs, that we would turn Sun Valley Boulevard in as our project for our region. So, and of course, if that changes, I'll be sure the board knows, but that's where we're headed. Dale and his team are working to refine it, because those applications are successful if you have enough detail. We just don't have the detail quite yet. And we've started the environmental process, which is another key determinant of being able to get the money. So we're doing everything we can to well position us for next year to be a successful RAISE grant to help pay for that project. And we've also been working very closely with Tracy and Sajid and NDOT, since it is an NDOT road, on getting that done.
Okay, anyone else? So this will come back for next meeting, we'll vote on it.
One more
Absolutely.
comment, Mr. Chair, if I may. One of the things that I will comment on is that because RTC has been so successful at the work that they've done for the last 5 years, you'll find us, I think, as colleagues, and I'm only speaking for myself, but I think it's reflective of my colleagues on the board, that we're now looking, how do we move to the next level? And that's why you see us being interested, I think, in projects like Sun Valley, the micromobility at the lake, the broader interest in micromobility. We know what RTC is capable of, and the employees here have continued to innovate and sort of change and work within, difficult budgetary cycles. And so part of it is our pushing the envelope there. And so you'll have to forgive us as we try to chart a new course for RTC, because again, I think it is being built on the historical success of the work that has been done here. We know what you're capable of, and so it's that little extra push going into areas where maybe you hadn't thought of them as being traditionally in the province of RTC. But I think that the engineering staff especially and all of the directors are up for the challenge. So, hopefully as we start to explore other areas of town that maybe have been a bit overlooked, haven't really had their day in the sun, it's because we know that you're up for the task.
Okay. Anyone else? I'm looking at you specifically.
I know, I always bring things up. No, but we're good. I'm good.
Okay. I think that's it then, Christian.
Thank you. And I think
Do we
we're
need to
just
make a
missing a motion.
To approve?
Or
Do we need a motion?
I think you just accept.
This is one of those items where it's at the discretion of the board. You can either make a motion to
Motion
approve.
Accept the report,
thank you.
For items 5.3 and 5.4.
5, 3, and 4. Second. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, thank you, Christian. 5.1, presentation from UNR regarding the RTC Regional Signal Timing Program. Are you out of here?
have to.
It's up to you.
All right, well, good morning, everyone. For the record, my name is Alex Wolfson. I am a project manager with RTC Engineering. Couple of my projects that I have under my purview are a couple of interlocal agreements with UNR related to managing traffic signal timing and then also transportation research in general. So in order to learn more about that, I think the traffic signal timing is an important project that we've been doing with UNR for a while. It has a lot of benefits to the community, both in terms of health, efficiency, reducing delays, and it's a good program. So in order to learn more about that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Zong Tien, who is a professor with UNR Civil Engineering Department, and also, I would say, a national authority when it comes to signal operations. So I'm going to turn it over to him.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, good morning, everyone. Like I said, I'm not used to sit down to talk, so hopefully it's okay. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this regional signal timing program. I started at UNR exactly 20 years ago, 2004. So before that, there was no transportation program. Okay, now people kind of label me, he's the signal guy. So like Sandra always say, you only do signal. Well, that's not true, right? When I started, I have to do everything, but now signal is just my interest, my passion. So today, let's talk about what we are doing here in the region. First, I always want to brag a little bit about our students. So as you see there, I call this, the program we have here, with City of Sparks, RTC, and City of Reno at UNR. This is a very unique collaboration. So you see my test there. UNR is the only university in the US, probably in the world, where the students are behind the signal timing. You don't see anywhere. So this is true. I'm not trying to exaggerate. You talk to anybody, there's no other school the students can actually do this kind of hands-on signal timing stuff. The second slide, you see these are the awards our students have received since I joined UNR.
Yeah.
So the ITE, everybody knows ITE, Institute of Transportation Engineers. That's a major professional organization. So every year we participate in a student paper competition. On the right, that's listed on the ITE website. Somehow they missed the 2008. So Xuan won the first one, 2008. Xuan is actually now an employee here at RTC. Okay, and then 2018 and 2013. By the way, our students are here. So can you please stand up? Just the students.
Oh, yeah.
Albert is not here. So one person is missing. So that's our student team. 2023, so Erica won the Dan Fambro Best Student Paper. So this is at the international level. There are more than like 150 schools participate. Then you look at the district level. The Western District, we won 6 times. And the Mountain District just formed about 3 years ago. That includes 8 states, about like 12, 15 schools. So we won all of them 3 times. Okay, so that's our student achievement. The reason we are doing so well is because the work we do is all very practical. It's applied research. Okay, enough to brag. Now, what exactly what we are doing here unique? So we do have a cutting edge tool. This is called WeSync. It's a software. Okay, the development started here. So it's pretty much the whole development is under my guidance, but I'm not a programmer. So we have industry partners. So we have this software. This is the main tool we are using here. And in the United States now, we have more than 30 agencies across in more than 10 states. They are using our tool. So this is why I call it a cutting edge. Well, this is a little bit too technical, but just to make it simple, you see the green, blue, those represent the signal timing behind it. Then you see those lines are the actual travel. So you see how many stops. I don't know how to use this. Okay, let's see. I don't know how to use the pointer. So you see where you stop. If you go through, you make a stop because it's red. So that's a part of the signal timing. Like I said, it's a little bit too technical. But the point is, this is on Sparks Boulevard. We did the retiming last year. You look at the before and after, and you see the improvement. The score used to be F, now it's like a C. So with the, you may wonder, okay, what does that mean from F to C? So these all translate into actual benefit numbers. So this is there are lots of numbers, but you look at the major one, that one is saying total benefit, $1.4 million, okay, annually. This is only based on like 3 to 4 hours of PM peak operation. Then you can see the breakdown. Okay, what are those savings? There's a travel time savings. Time is a value, right? It's 1 hour, there's some value behind it. Fuel savings, emissions, and also vehicle maintenance. If we can make you to stop fewer, so you actually can save on your car maintenance. So all of these add together, just one corridor is 1.4 million per year. That's the benefit. Okay, so this is the regional performance report, kind of interactive map we made. Eventually, we're going to put this on the RTC website to let other agencies to see the kind of work we are doing. There's really no other places they are doing something like this. All these data are generated from a big data source, independent. Now, how do we compare with other agencies? I always use Orange County, California as an example because they do have the annual signal timing program, similar to us. But their budget is $20 million a year, and the earmarked for 30 years, a total of $600 million. Not all of them on signal timing, so 80% on equipment, but still quite significant on just signal timing alone. Then you look at their performance. There's a number, okay, it's called a green per red. So if you drive on the corridor, green per red, so how many greens do you go through before you hit red? Okay, what number would make you happy?
0.
Right? 0? Well, you'll be mad if it's 0. Okay, so their number, you look at their number. So 2019, 2017, 2011, never exceeded 2. So that means on average, you go through 2 signals, you hit a red. You go through 2 signals, you hit a red. So what do you think of our numbers in the region? Everybody drive, right?
Depends what day it is.
So our number is around 3.7. Okay, so you can see this is significantly better. Well, there are a lot of stories behind. They spend so much money, why they couldn't do well? So you ask me, I will tell you all the stories. Okay, because they don't have this kind of a partnership like we do. So every year they pick one piece, another year pick another piece. It's never getting improved as a system. And 2 cases, so this is one case, hopefully I can play the video. This is, this is in West McCarran. Remember we built that roundabout. During the construction, you see that queue. The queue extends beyond that bridge where the Home Depot is. And then the bottom is after we did the timing. Okay. So it's a huge difference. Just through signal timing, we were able to reduce that congestion. That's the related to that roundabout construction. Okay. And you can see these are all from Google Maps. Okay, it's not just me saying this. You can see Google Maps before, after, where you see the red and the green. So huge difference, different times of the day. I'll skip that. Okay. And then, everybody knows we have the recent construction, the ramp closure, 395, right? So after we just close that ramp, these are the complaints. So this is actually the complaint from a staff within our department because they know we are doing the signal timing. So she first complained to me. I used to take 20 minutes, now take me 45 minutes, an hour. Can you take a look at it? So our students, yes, did spend 2 weeks out there to fine tune and put a new timing. So you can see the difference. Throughout the day, just look at the peak, that's the PM, during the PM, around 6 PM. Before the construction, that's the travel time at the bottom. On the top is without signal retiming, you can see that travel time. And after we did the retiming, there's still congestion, but we can put them in the middle, okay? So that's the impact through the signal timing. And then these are the kind of comments, and she actually wrote back, hey, thank you for the good job. So now it only took me 25 minutes, all right? The final slides, what I want to say is, in our area is really growing. Everybody noticed that, growing very quickly. The timing, even if we don't touch the timing, the travel time just by nature increased by 12%, okay? So definitely there will be a lot of constructions, and some intersections, some roadways will be oversaturated. So we have to keep an eye, keep working on this. So signal timing cannot solve everything, but at least we can make things better with the resources we have. So that's all I have. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Questions?
Or I can teach you the signal timing.
I don't have a question. I just have a comment. Thank you so much for the presentation. Nobody hates red lights more than my 2 children, so I really am drawn to this presentation. And as a matter of fact, at my Sun Valley CAB meeting, I brought up that RTC was going to be doing some work and that we had a partnership with the university to help improve the flow. And I swear, like, some of those folks never smile, and they smiled at that. So thank you for your work. I know that I had never really thought about it through the cost savings lens, so I really appreciated that slide that you included. And I know you said it's a cutting edge tool, but I really think that with your leadership, building capacity with our students is really the cutting edge tool. So thank you to our university students. It's pretty remarkable that we are the only one utilizing and building capacity within our student body to do the work. So I really commend you and your leadership.
Thanks very much.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on to item 5.2, approve memorandum of understanding between Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, Cities of Reno, Sparks, and County of Washoe to collaborate on the deployment recommendations contained within the RTC's Intelligent Transportation Strategic Master Plan.
Morning, Board. Morning, Chairman. Dale Keller, Deputy Executive Director for the record. That's a tough presentation to follow. I guess I should be standing up for all my rest of my presentations. So today's agenda item and proposed action is a follow-up from last month's board retreat, and really a accumulation of a 2-year effort led by RTC and local agencies, traffic engineering professionals. So ITS, or Intelligent Transportation Systems, is really technology aimed to, with those innovations that you just saw with Dr. TM, to improve that transportation safety, mobility, and environmental sustainability. So the RTC initiated this ITS Strategic Master Plan roughly about 2 years ago to establish the region's near-term and long-term visions and goals, and really leverage resources and capabilities of this ITS application. In order to fully realize the ITS system, cooperation and interoperation among local agencies is needed. And so this MOU is for the RTC, the City of Reno, City of Sparks, and Washoe County to really collaborate on those deployment recommendations contained within that strategic master plan. So today I want to introduce you again to Alex Wolfson. He's our RTC project manager and traffic engineer who will talk through, briefly describe those components inside this MOU.
Well, good morning again, everyone. For the record, my name is Alex Wolfson, and I am the project manager for the ITS Strategic Master Plan, aka SMP. And we're gonna, as Dale mentioned, we're gonna kind of follow up on our presentation from last month with a more brief presentation to talk about this memorandum of understanding. So try not to recycle too much from our last presentation, but I did want to kind of just reuse this slide just to sort of remind everyone a lot of what we're trying to accomplish through this program and plan. Currently I do believe we do a really good job when it comes to how we operate our signals, but I think there's room to grow there. So currently we have our reactive operations. We're very good, kind of going back to some of the examples that Dr. Tien mentioned. When we know there's issues, we're good at getting out there and taking care of them and improving it. Separate networks, still a bit of an issue between us and City of Reno, City of Sparks. They are physically separate networks, and sometimes I think the driver sees that when they're going around the network, and so we want to work towards consolidating that. In addition as well, we have inconsistent standards, which can be tough to kind of analyze, where are our biggest needs when it comes to replacing some of our infrastructure and improving it, and also just ease of maintenance as well. Things are the same, it's a lot easier to handle. And so we want to work towards unified standards. Forgot to mention back at the first one, reactive operations. So through this plan, we want to be able to not just be reactive when there's issues, but to be more proactive, try and get ahead of potential issues, and then active. You have a crash and it's messing with the network, have an ability to actually make changes and improvements at that very moment. So the MOU is kind of the next big step here. I don't want to belittle my own presentation here, but I do want to emphasize that this MOU is not going to tie anybody funding wise. There'll be true interlocal agreements later on down the road, but I think this is an important step because we've put a lot of resources into this report, and I think came up with some really important recommendations. So this MOU is divided into 4 main focus areas, and I'll go through each focus area before turning it over for questions. So first one, decision making. We've got RTC, we've got City of Reno, City of Sparks, Washoe County, and NDOT as well when the time comes. How do we make decisions? And so this is one of the big focus areas. So some of the stuff you'll see in this section are basically everybody agrees to plan and implement SMP recommendations. RTC agrees to establish, or RTC will strive, I should say, to establish an oversight committee that will be made up of at least one representative from each agency. The agencies would be striving to participate in that oversight committee. And then the last one, everybody will strive to measure performance of SMP recommendations, kind of similar to what Dr. Tien showed. It's really important to be able to actually measure the performance of these so we can justify, the existence of the program, but also be able to communicate the benefits that it provides to the community. Second focus area will be operations. Selfishly, this is the one I'm most excited about. And there's 2 main points here. So one would be operating the regional traffic signal and ITS network as one consolidated entity. That kind of goes back to the separate networks. I think this is an opportunity to make that more streamlined. And as part of that, in order to do that, we are proposing to establish, operate, and support a regional traffic management center, which would be the facility where we would, be able to make the operational changes and adjust for real-time conditions. Focus area number 3 is going to be maintenance. So one of them is going to be establish and support a regionally consolidated ITS and traffic signal maintenance program. As was mentioned during the board retreat, there could be a lot of potential opportunities in having it all consolidated under one entity. It could be more efficient. It could result in cost savings and just better kind of management of our overall infrastructure. So as part of this, we'll need to determine management, oversight, support, and maintenance responsibilities. So like I kind of mentioned, this would be handled through separate interlocals down the road. The last one, standards. So a lot of this would be develop, adopt regional ITS and traffic signal design standards and specifications. So look for opportunities to try and really consolidate our standards and make it one true regional standard that we follow. And then as part of that as well, establish, operate, and support a regional traffic signal and ITS asset management program. This is another one that I think is really important, that when we look at, each year when we invest money into capital improvements for our signal and ITS infrastructure, how do we prioritize it? If we're doing a good job of maintaining an asset management program, that will allow us, I think, to do a better job of prioritizing which assets truly need capital investments before others. So with all that said, here's kind of the schedule for finishing up the MOU and the SMP. So we've got the RTC board, which is today. If that's successful with the MOU, we have City of Sparks next Monday, Washoe County next Tuesday, City of Reno next Wednesday. And then if the MOU is approved, our plan is to finalize the SMP document by the end of June, so June 30th. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Go ahead.
Great work, Mr. Wilson and your partners at UNR. And I'm just curious if we are going to be investing substantial money into this system as a region down the line, obviously, looking at that reality. Many communities have moved to roundabouts, which would not require any of this. I'm just curious if what our stance is on that, and if we're looking at that as a region as well.
It's a good question. So, there still would be elements that even a roundabout we'd have to consider with this. For example, the new roundabout that was put in at West 4th Street in Woodland has a CCTV camera, which is an ITS device, meant for monitoring it. And so, we need somebody to maintain that and operate that device and make sure it's going. In addition as well, there could be needs for like enhanced crosswalks, which could be like the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, possibly even a pedestrian hybrid beacon, which we haven't actually done one of those yet, but there would be a need to have somebody maintain and operate that. Another example could be there's a railroad crossing too near that roundabout. And so, maybe an advanced railroad warning system, which would be another ITS device. So I think there's a lot of, when it comes to the, we're very used to, I think when we see here, the traffic signals, and that is probably for these agencies, our number one ITS device. But there is a lot of other interesting technology out there that could, to your point, maybe replace the needs for traffic signals. Maybe over time, traffic signals, like you said, become a smaller focus of this program.
Well, thank you for explaining that. I learned something more, so thank you.
Mr. Chair, this may be jumping ahead, but I was just curious about the management center itself, where it would be housed. What ideas or preliminary thoughts do you have in regard to that?
Yeah, so it's all tentative, but I think right now, as we've been working through this document, the initial kind of plan is to establish something here at the RTC building and house it here. It would be small, but it would allow us to at least get something running, and it would be kind of what we call the virtual TMC concept. So we would interface with the NDOT, their version of the TMC, which they call the Road Op Center, just via network connections or remotely or phone calls. And so that's the first iteration, and then from there we would see where it would grow.
Okay. Bill, you got anything?
Yes, just quickly. So, obviously RTC's role and your role as board members is to dive deep in transportation. We are going to be asking, as this moves forward next week to your local boards, that you are, of course, the advocates or the people on your boards to explain if questions come up. I mean, our team will be there. I'll be there. Dale and Alex will be there. But we're presenting this to you multiple times so that you can feel comfortable representing your boards as the electeds. This is going to be something that I think everybody, we can probably all agree, is going to benefit. But there's always the challenge when you do things like this with people like, what are they giving up? And the threat of change, because somebody somewhere could be concerned that this is different from what they're used to. And that's probably the biggest ask on this MOU, is really that we collectively as a region have decided whatever those risks or changes are, we're willing to talk about them and bring them to the forefront to evaluate whether we keep moving forward eventually to a regional way of handling this. Because, bottom line, if you think about it, everybody has a geographic area as an elected official. And the system now is really designed almost to be for the individual. So if somebody's really upset about a traffic signal, they might go to their local elected official and say, I want that traffic signal fixed. Well, that might address that particular person's want, but it could have serious consequences, as you saw with Tien and the way he looks at it, which is moving vehicles. We have to take a bigger view, which is sometimes hard. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, but sometimes hard in the regional sense to understand there's a collective value that may come at the price of the individual. So I just want to put that on the table because that's really kind of what's behind it. This will be change. Individuals will be affected. But in the end, we feel at the long run, it'll help everybody in the region.
I think you need to include the slide that Dr. Tien had with the cost savings for, that is huge right there. Then that's an easy benefit to sell to the public and to our employees. $1.3 million on how big of a stretch of road was that? It was on Sparks Boulevard, but I don't know how. I-80 and to Los Altos. So okay. Yeah, that's big savings. So if we could add that slide too, Bill, one of the presentations. I know it'll help us to discuss it in Sparks, and I'm sure help in Reno and Washoe too. Okay, yes,
But it's a presentation that you're bringing to the Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday, not the MOU, or are you bringing the MOU?
So we're continuing to work with staff. I'll confirm with county staff if it's make sure it's on the agenda. One thing working with them is could be on consent, but we'll continue to work with the county manager on if it needs to be a presentation.
I thought you were presenting. I'm trying to remember what the agenda is, and I'm trying to pull it up, and of course, this computer is not working, but I thought you were
Correct.
presenting to the board. And
We
you're
are.
saying the agreements on consent as well as part of the presentation?
Yes, and I
Okay.
need to go look at the next week's Board of County Commissioners meeting as well. But it would be, we do have some slides incorporated with the presentation regarding the MOU for the ITS as well.
Okay, I just don't remember it being in consent, but I could be wrong. I'm looking.
Are we voting on an MOU?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Today,
On Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday next
Yes,
week?
sir.
Okay.
Okay, I think that was the question.
Well, for now, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to make a motion to approve 5.2 as listed in the staff report.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. See you guys on Monday. All right, 6.1 from the Executive Director, Bill Thomas. What words of wisdom do you have for us today?
Thank you, Chair. And I know usually I do this at the back end of the meeting when we've warned you out and try to keep these as brief and succinct as I can, but there's a lot of good stuff going on. So I would say to you, it's a good sign that I'm talking more because there's a lot of things happening. And part of what,
About that.
the chair
Sure
will always
there's
argue with
things
me.
going
but
on,
yeah.
but talking longer.
We have to talk. Yeah, okay. So I'll try to do these, cover a lot of things and do them briefly. So first thing I wanted to start with is announcing that we've opened the 2050 Regional Transportation Plan Update Survey. This is an important part of the first step in updating our regional transportation plan, which we do every 4 years. So we'd encourage the public, the board, anybody and everybody to go to our website, www.rtcwashoe.com/RTP, and take the survey. This will be important foundational information that we use as we develop the regional transportation plan over the next year. In addition, going on with some of our successes, I wanted to announce, and it was briefly mentioned, that we did, now that the budget's been approved at the federal level, we have $2.5 million in congressionally directed spending, thanks to Senator Cortez Masto, Senator Rosen, and Congressman Amodei, which we will be applying to Sun Valley Boulevard. So the first tranche of important money that we see that's going to help us get that facility moving forward and the project that is so important to the community out there and to the region in general. Also, on positive news, I wanted to announce, which actually was in the media, that we saw a 33% increase in our Formula 5307 Federal Transit Authority funding, and we actually got the largest increase in this nation. And I think even the president in his announcement mentioned us. So pretty atypical for a small agency like ourselves, but kind of the backstory so the board and the public know is this is a result of your consent in our recommendation during the pandemic that we maintain our transit system. So we were one of the few places in the country where we did not cut service. Even though ridership went down, we decided to keep running the system, and this is a direct reflection of why we ended up where we're at. So I'd love to say we're going to get this every year, but the metrics that they use, fluctuate across the country. But at least for now, very proud of our organization and the board working with us to make that decision, which at the time was tough, but paid off, I think, in a lot of ways, not the least of which is this significant increase in funding. I want to congratulate also on a positive note Amanda Caligari, specifically, but also the City of Reno, the Pavement Preservation Group, and Granite Construction. The National Asphalt Pavement Association has awarded this team the 2023 Quality in Asphalt Paving for the Holcomb Avenue Rehabilitation Project. Granite Construction incorporated reclaimed asphalt pavement in the project mixes to conserve virgin materials and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The result was a smooth, quality asphalt road that enhances not only pedestrian safety, but also includes ADA improvements, bicycle improvements, and drainage improvements. This is an important project to the community, but the extra benefit really was that we were able to move to the next level of using materials in a way that are least impactful to the environment. So I just wanted to share that with the board and the community because that is a pretty big thing to get that award. Going forward on activities out there with the public, we held our first public meeting for the Sierra Street Bridge replacement in March at the McKinley Arts and Culture Center. We gave residents and stakeholders an opportunity to see the plans, preliminary plans, and provide us with input. We value the public's opinion, and we especially want the information on these intergenerational projects like this where, as the board knows, we don't do bridges frequently. But this will be something that'll be impactful not only immediately, but long-term. We're hoping to break ground on this project in 2026 after we replace Arlington bridges. So our strategy is not, of course, to be removing multiple bridges over the river at the same time. So this project will be greatly dependent on our success in advancing the Arlington Bridges project. The RTC is beginning coordination with the Bureau of Land Management in Washoe County in identifying a potential corridor for the Lemon Valley to Spanish Springs connector. And just so everybody's clear, this is a study we did for several years. We came up with, over several years, we came up with an alignment which the board approved. And we are moving forward now with the BLM to secure a potential route for that connection. It's not on our plans to do that project, but as land availability has changed with the potential lands bill, asks from the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, and just in general the dynamic nature of public land, we felt it was important for our region to stake a claim, if you will, to a road that eventually will be connecting the valleys. We have had specific and direct conversations with the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, including a conversation with their new chair. So we're keeping them in the loop on what we're doing. They've been very supportive of us moving this forward. So we'll make sure we keep the board advised as this progresses. But right now, that'll be the first step in trying to secure a right-of-way. We held a media event that I want to share with the board, and Commissioner Reese was at it for the Steamboat Parkway Improvement Project. This is a project that has been on the books for a while, but we had some issues on right-of-way that delayed it a season. We are told, and we believe a lot of people in that particular area of the region are looking forward to the improvements coming, so that project has broken ground and is moving forward. I'm also happy to announce a growth in ridership in our transit system. March is the 20th straight month of growth in ridership. Last month, we had more than 442,000 riders, or an 8.6% increase compared to last March. We're still trying to get to the place where we were pre-pandemic, but I can share with the board and the community that we are being very successful at getting more ridership on the system, particularly the Rapid line. You know, that was a new thing several years ago, to go to that frequency of service and really focus our resources on a couple of corridors. And I can share with you that it's paid off significantly. I believe that's close to a third of our ridership is on the Rapid line. So that shows you how much people like, or actually people are doing what they tell us, which is when we ask them about transit, they say we want frequency and we want predictability. So that BRT really allows us to do that by providing the buses every 10 minutes. Earlier this month, we joined 150 transit stakeholders from 43 states to support a Buy America waiver, and I wanted to share that with the board. I submitted a letter on your and my behalf asking the U.S. Department of Transportation to provide relief from the Buy America provision. And the reason we're doing that is because those rules, which have the greatest intent of high value, are becoming very difficult in terms of implementation and leading to some serious struggles across the nation in terms of providing cutaways that we use for access and flex ride. So I wanted to make sure the board knew that we had submitted that letter on your behalf. Now, to talk about some of our employees, I wanted to start by congratulating Yenny. Yenny, are you here? There she is. Yes, I knew she was here. Yenny's been with us for 25 years. She celebrated this milestone last month, and I wanted to thank you, Yenny, for all you've done. Obviously, a lot of years, a lot of service to RTC, so we appreciate it. I'd also like the board to, as luck would have it, sitting next to her, Michelle Kraus. Michelle is celebrating her 10th year with RTC this month. And also Laura Freed and Alex Wolfson, who you just saw, passed their first year mark with RTC, so on their journey to 10 and 25 years. So thank you all for all you do. I wanted to close out today by acknowledging our MTM and Keolis Employees of the Month. And actually, we're going to do 2 months because, as you know, with the board retreat, we didn't do this. So I want to congratulate Wayne Ming as the MTM Employee of the Month for February, and Jasper Ferguson for the month of March. Wayne has driven for City Lift and Access for 21 years. He says his favorite part of the job is the passengers, which we know is critical to that service in terms of people using it. So I wanted to thank on your behalf Wayne Ming for his great service. Jasper started 4 months ago, so he's a newer employee, but he's already having a significant impact on customers who give very positive feedback on him regularly. So we want to thank both Wayne and Jasper for the great work they've done for our community, both in the access and flex ride space for MTM. Bruce Jones is our Keolis Driver of the Month for February, and Francisco Velez is our driver for March. So Bruce has worked as a bus operator for RIDE since July of 2007. So obviously he's been around our community and knows quite a bit about the streets and the customers in our community. He loves his job, and he's developed a reputation for reliability. As I mentioned earlier, that's one of the 2 key things that the passengers tell us over and over is the reliability. And Bruce has been on time 95% of the time, which is an amazing mark. Francisco has worked as a bus operator for RIDE since July of 2022. He takes pride in his job and has compassion for his customers. His accomplishment in March was a 93% on-time performance. And I would share with the board and the public that if you think about the drivers, their on-time performance, which really is showing up when people expect the buses to be there, influenced very much by traffic, other drivers, things going wrong. So it's not just a question of them being diligent, but also, responding to a world that's dynamic and moving those buses around. So I wanted to close by thanking those 2 drivers from Keolis, and that concludes my comments for today.
Thank you. Yes. That button
There we
does
go.
not like you.
Director Thomas, thank you for the report, and I appreciate you supporting the staff and their anniversaries, and also our transit employees as well. What do you think about perhaps once ITS goes through all the different jurisdictions, writing an op-ed about it? Because I think that this is really exciting, and the community doesn't know this work that we're doing, and that the difference we made even in the North Valleys for people, trying to get home to their families after work and getting to work, and the real cost savings. And there's just, like you said, there's so much to celebrate, and I feel like it would be great if the community understood that incredible work of you and your staff. So thank you.
Done.
Simple enough. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, Mr. Nelson, you're up.
Good morning. Paul Nelson, RTC Government Affairs Officer. So Congress wrapped up its fiscal year 24 funding, and now they're moving on to fiscal year 25. The late start, though, is slowing things down, plus it's an election year, so it would be pretty likely that this would extend past September at the end of the fiscal year and until after the election. So it might be a busy November and December in Washington for that. House members are still working through their process for congressionally directed spending. However, the Senate has already decided to move forward with theirs in the appropriations process. As you know, we did submit 4 different project requests for some of those earmarks. Bill Thomas, Jim Gee, Mayor Lawson, and Councilman Reese and I were able to meet with our federal delegation last week to discuss some of our projects and some of our priorities moving forward here in the region, and we think it was a pretty valuable discussion that we had with them. So we think it was a productive visit, and hopefully that will pay dividends down the road. The National Highway Transportation Safety Administration issued a notice of proposed updates to safety standards for electric vehicles, and it's accepting comments on this through June 14th. It's also hoping to expand some existing rules to cover heavy vehicles. The FTA released an updated version of the National Public Transportation Safety Plan, and that includes new provisions addressing requirements in the bipartisan infrastructure law. These include 7 new safety performance measures, 8 new requirements for safety risk reduction programs, and an updated list of voluntary minimum safety standards and recommended practices. The U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas ruled that the Biden administration exceeded its statutory authority by imposing a greenhouse gas emissions performance measure upon the states. So now Republicans and Democrats are debating whether the FHWA does have the authority from Congress to impose the GHG performance measures on state departments and MPOs. Closer to home now, last week the RTC provided transportation to Assemblywomen Brown May and Mosca. They're part of the nonprofit caucus at the legislature, and they wanted to learn more about some of Northern Nevada's nonprofit organizations. Staff from Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County also joined us on the tour, as well as Commissioner Garcia, so hopefully that was time well spent. We did have the chance to stop at 8 different nonprofit organizations, and we gave them an overview of what the RTC does here too. Mike Hillerby and Sam Anastasados did a great job prepping for the tour, so a big thanks to them. And we were able to provide the bus to take them between the organizations. And that's it.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thanks, Paul.
Yep.
Okay, NDOT update.
All right, good morning, everybody. Sajid Solaria, Deputy Director at NDOT. Let me see if the presentation's up there. Sorry, I have to put my reading glasses I just bought last weekend, so I have to use them. All right, I would like to start off with an update that helps fill in the gaps in our director's office. And these faces you will see will be familiar to many here at RTC. Joe Harrington has been appointed at NDOT Director of Communications and Government Affairs. Joe comes to us from Florida, where he led public communications for the International Airport and one of the state's largest transit and paratransit providers. He is relocating back to Nevada, having lived here in Silver States about 11 years. As many here know, that Joe held the position of Public Information Officer for the RTC Washoe, where he worked with NDOT as a partner on several major projects, including the Pyramid and McCarran Interchange Improvements Project, Spaghetti Bowl Improvement Projects, and planning for future I-11. So his experience also includes 10 years at the television journalist. Much of that time was spent here in Reno at KOLO TV, which is Channel 8 here. So we welcome Joe come back to Silver State. All right, next up is we're very excited. Another familiar face here in our director's office is the new Assistant Director of Planning, Rebecca Capular. Rebecca most recently worked as Assistant Chief of Multimodal Planning, where she led active transportation program that included programs such as Safe Routes to School, Pedestrians and Bicycle Safety and Education, and the Transportation Alternative Set-Aside programs. Rebecca has an extensive background working in multimodal transportation and planning in Northern Nevada. She also has more than 20 years of experience with government agencies at the local, regional, and state levels, and of course, that includes her years of experience as a team member at the RTC Washoe. Earlier, Dr. Tien's presentation, you mentioned that the students are the main workforce in the development of the technology here. I wanted to extend our NDOT workforce that we're still hiring, so please keep them in the state here. We want to utilize them if they want to change their status to continue that effort. NDOT is always looking for good engineers and employees. All right, I wanted to kind of switch over to some of the safety updates and reminders. The reason for this slide is what we're not off to a good start in 2024. There are about 58 lives were lost in fatal crashes. That includes 6 traffic fatalities in Washoe County. in the first 2 months of 2024. Statewide, that is about over 30% increase in fatalities from the same time last year, and about 50% increase here in Washoe County. Nevada's ultimate goal is zero fatalities on Nevada roads by 2050. And we fight for this goal because every single life matters. So as across the state, transportation partners use the 6 E's to remind all of us, as they're depicted on this slide there, with equity and engineering, enforcement, education, and emergency response, and it's everyone is included. Like I said, we all have a role to play. Ultimate safety is a user of the responsibility of everyone. And in the following slides, I will highlight some of the safety planning initiatives that we are here putting in the area. And again, the next slide, this is a good segue. This week is our National Work Zone Safety Awareness Week. There are over 1,800 crashes in Nevada work zones in the last construction season. That is from October 2022 to 2023. That's the time frame. That's roughly 3% of all crashes statewide. In Washoe County, there were about 148 crashes in the work zones. Fortunately, there were no fatal crashes in the work zone during that time. But this percentage is not large, but motorists driving unsafely in the work zones have potential and causing devastating injuries or deaths for the workers in the field. And again, safety is our top priority, and we continue to advance our work zone safety efforts. And we have a work zone traffic control planning process to provide the utmost work zone safety and visibility and safety to our workers. Driver behavior is a critical component. We all use National Work, as NDOT and all the partner agencies, we also use the National Work Zone Safety Awareness Week to remind everyone to watch out for the work zones. We do this through social media, other outlets, and partner with Nevada Highway Patrol and local transportation agencies. Other events around the states are planned by law enforcement agencies as well as Traffic Incident Management Coalition, which is TIMS. So please look out, as we all do. We want to make sure our dads and moms and everybody who's out there working in the projects, so we want to be vigilant out there. I want to kind of switch some updates on some of the management traffic studies that we're doing, South Virginia Street Safety Management Plan. We were hosting South Virginia Street Safety Management Plan, and as of I think it was last week, NDOT held a public meeting. NDOT is studying ways to improve the South Virginia Street corridor between Patriot and Mount Rose Highway. We are gathering public input on safety plans, recommendation to improve safety for our drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists, and enhance economic development in the area. I also want to note that we are partnering with RTC on South Virginia Street Transit-Oriented Development, which is SVTOD study. The transit study is primarily focused on future of the study, and there's virtual meeting is still going. It's open till April 26th, I believe, so people can make comments on that too. So we're partnering with RTC on that. So please extend that if you want. There's a website there listed on southvirginiasafety.com. So. All right, the next one up is our I-80 widening public meeting. That's also virtual. That's from April 23rd to May 23rd. An in-person meeting will be held on May 8th and from 4 to 7, also at the Story County Community Fire Station. And the purpose of this study is to assess potential impacts, inform stakeholders about the project, and there's a website listed there, I-80eastnevada.com. We are hoping to have the environmental completed by summer of next year. I think the FONSI, that's the target goal for this project there. So please check that one out as well. A quick update on Pyramid Highway project. Construction milestone, we're about 50% complete as of mid-April. Current major construction, we are constructing screen walls being constructed on the east side of the highway from Los Altos to Golden Valley. Sidewalks being installed on the west side between Los Altos and Golden View. And some of the recent construction accomplishments so far is shared use path is complete from Los Altos to Disk Drive. Shoppers Way access from Pyramid Highway, that's completed. Los Altos Parkway access to Walmart is reconstructed. And some upcoming construction is drainage work will be complete by the end of April, early May, weather dependent. Shared use path expected to be complete from Disk Drive to Queenway by the end of May. And the crew will be constructing a shared use path from Los Altos to Golden View after the sound walls, screening walls are fully constructed. And some of the night work will happen, some of the pavement on the northbound from Queenways to Los Altos, it's as well as early May, and Disk Drive. And those are, again, there's a website. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us, the project manager, or look at the website of this project. And that concludes my quick and brief presentation. I try to be cognizant of the time, so hopefully it wasn't too long.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. All right. Commissioner announcements? You got anything? Yes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We talk a lot about improvements and projects here in this room, but raise your hand if you've actually put your bicycle or your feet on Audie Wells lately in the last. Okay, I see a few hands. About in 1 month, we have the RTC meeting coming up on May 17th, and the day after our next RTC meeting, I would love to welcome and invite all of you to bring your children and families out to really experience this transformative bicycle and pedestrian facility that we have now that has greatly improved both Reno and Sparks. And we're calling it, well, it's the second annual Ride Reno Spin Sparks. I'm super happy to be sponsoring this event, and I really thank the RTC staff for being involved in the planning of this as well. But basically, we're meeting at Paradise Park. And you can drive and park if you want, or if you live close by, feel free to ride your bike on down. We've partnered with Bernice Matthews Elementary School, and we're going to start and stop right there in Paradise Park. And the course will pop you out as you meander through the park, and you'll travel east on Audie, turn around at our Sparks Library, and then you can come back down on the north side, heading west on Audie, and you'll dip back down to the park. For those of you that have littles, there's going to be an inner bike ring that goes along where the bodies of water are, so they don't have to actually go on Audie Wells if you don't trust them. But we're going to have some tabling, some nonprofits out there, and it's just going to be a really beautiful way to kind of put like the exclamation point in what has been a truly beautiful and transformative project. So that's coming up on May 18th. It's only 2 hours long. You can come down anytime between 10 and 12, and we are getting ready to publish a flyer and circulate that around, so be on the lookout. It's called Ride Reno Spin Sparks.
And truly a regional collaboration there with all 3 police departments working together and staffs, so it's pretty cool. All right, anything else? Well, then I think we're down to public comment. Madam Clerk?
No public comments.
Then we're adjourned.